There are a bunch of hot trending new manga out. Honestly, it's like the time of new manga. There are a bunch that are getting a lot of hype, getting a lot of attention, but I want to talk about one or two that have my biggest attention. And those are Hero Organization, something like that I think it's called. Hero Organization and Ichi the Witch, which is kind of new. I don't have too many opinions about both of these manga, so I am probably going to kind of go slower with both of these. So without further ado, let's talk about Hero Organization. So Hero Organization is actually a pretty cool manga. It's only 2 chapters in. Now, I usually like to wait at least like 15 or 20-ish chapters to see how good a manga gets, because usually that's the time that it takes to kind of assess if a manga is going to get canceled or not. But this manga in its second chapter gave me such a big plot twist that I did not see coming, and that I hope sticks, so that for the future of the manga, it gets, it gets good. So basically what happens in this manga, spoilers by the way, basically this is, I'm gonna go with like non-spoilers. So basically what happens is in this manga we have these people, right, who, it's like a sci-fi type of manga, which thankfully there's something different. Again, it's like something that I said that I like about Centuria, that I like about that I love about Centuria. It was Centuria, the new manga Mad. It's something that I liked about these 2 new manga and Dan that made it so different. It's like it didn't have to do with like exorcists or demons or shit like that. It was kind of like just a down to earth, like not down to earth, but just a different manga. Centuria is a dark fantasy. Mad is a sci-fi, which is really good. It's giving me huge Attack on Titan, Shingeki no Kyojin vibes. And we have now this new manga, Hero Organization, which is like kind of, it's sci-fi and it has to do with mechs. So it's like a world where like humans are fighting against like aliens that are known as star beasts, and they pilot mechs, and it's a mecha. It's a mecha manga. The art is really good. The mech designs are really dope. So yeah, it's actually really good. And it's basically just that, and it tells the story of like an old, like a father whose son is kind of like a prodigy and will probably be recruited into being part of this organization that fights these aliens. So he's going to be a mech pilot, but he's given the chance because it was also his dream, and he kind of wants to live his dream through his kid. Anyway, he's given the option of being a mech pilot to go out and face the star, plasma, like the star beasts. So that's basically kind of like what it is. Now, that's the summary. There are only 2 chapters out, so if you guys want to go give it a chance, go give it a chance. Go watch it. Go read it. There's 2 chapters out now, not a lot. But I want to get into spoilers, because that second chapter, the ending of that second chapter was like, yo, what? It was really, really good. So I really want to talk about it. So, spoilers from here on out. Ready, set, and go. Yo, what is up with that second chapter, though? So I want to talk about the first chapter. First of all, that first chapter was magnificent. It kind of tells you all that you need. You have to know all the context that you need for like a typical, like to hook you into like a very typical sort of cliche type of story of like a man who's piloting a mech and they're fighting an alien race. It's very typical, very shonen-esque. It has mechs, right? Really great, really cool. What I found interesting though was that they were going to make the adult a protagonist, which is something that I liked about Kaiju number 8, because that's the one that I was missing. So Kaiju number 8 was also very interesting, or is also very interesting, because it's something that's very different. It's fighting against Kaiju, and the protagonist is like a beat up kind of like older man. So it's not like a 20-something-year-old dude or like a 15-year-old, which is typical in Shonen Jump. Like shonen manga, it's not like a youngster. He's like an older kind of guy, and he's kind of like not the most fit, but he has his power that allows him to fight. So that's kind of what I like, the fact that they use like an older person to kind of make this happen. And that first chapter was really good because it kind of felt like it was going towards that. with the way that like the father's dream was always to be a mech pilot and to be part of this organization, to be a hero, as they say. Because you see a bunch of stories about heroes and everything. So it was really cool to have that sort of nuance of this guy kind of wanting his kid to be a pilot because he wanted to live his dreams through his kid, and just kind of how much his kid idolizes his father, because the kid knows that his father doesn't have the funds or the money to buy himself an expensive toy, so he just kind of buys it for him, right, and asks for that like the least expensive toy. And he also tells his father to like pursue his dream, and that they will both become like mech pilots. And that was really cool, the fact that he was able to live out his dream through himself and not through his child. So that was really good. It kind of added a little bit of a nuance there. But that second chapter was like a complete shift in tone, because that first chapter was like very inspiring, very much like, oh, an older man is able to like make his dreams come true. But then that second chapter just kind of hits you with the reality of the situation, where it's like shit is rough, at the first Star Beast, the main character fails to defeat it, and it's just brutal out there. They have no ammo, no supplies, and they're just basically sent out to die, and I really hope that with future chapters we can get a little bit more of this type of morality of a story, where like they're kind of just sent out to die, to fight, and they're not really given much to work with, especially with what happened in the second chapter, which morally, this chapter very morally devastated, I guess, most readers and myself, because I really like this sort of message of, don't believe everything that you see, because it may not be that way. Because with this organization, they amp people up, they make them feel like proud, they make them feel like hyped, which is what happened to us in the first chapter, which is what I liked. That first chapter made me feel hopeful, made me feel like, oh, this guy's gonna make his dream come true, like an old man can do it. And then the second chapter, the reality is they just use these civilians to hype up a heroic story, and then just have them die so that other civilians can be inspired to be heroes and just go out there, which really like just contrasts with like what could happen in like the real world. Like I remember there was like a time when there were like a bunch of reels, bunch of TikToks, a bunch of memes that alluded towards like humans fighting aliens, and it was like, the alien invaders finding out about the indomitable human spirit, and it just came out of nowhere. It came out of nowhere, and it was like a reel that was like an inspiring reel about a human like doing something against like an alien. And there was like a comment that I saw, and they were like, yo, can you imagine if this was actually like people making this type of propaganda so that when it does happen, we remember this and are like, oh yeah, it's time to do what we saw in the reel, and that's kind of like what it felt like, where this organization fabricates these stories of very, just very heroic civilians, everyday people, because he's just a father who was like a mechanic. He's like your neighbor. And if you see that your neighbor was selected to be a pilot and died heroically saving a bunch of people, is like you would probably be inspired, like, yo, that's a real hero. So I really like the morality of this second chapter, and what I hope will be the morality of like the following chapters, of just this kind of mentality, just this message of not everything that glistens is gold. It's really great, and it's kind of cruel to say it, but I kind of expect him to like actually be dead, and for his son Leo to take over the mantle and be like another mech pilot. And hopefully as the story progresses, Leo will start to see the morality behind them doing these things go up higher in the ranks, and as he's going up, as he's getting more and more popular, kind of find out what happened to his father and just have this sort of story. I really hope, it really feels like this could be like a potentially really good story that's about kind of like, I really hope this is like a very nuanced story. That's because, again, a lot of these new manga have a lot of potential. Mad has this potential of just, it's every chapter from the manga Mad is insane. Every chapter that comes out is just absolute madness. Every chapter just gives you more and more vibes of something isn't right, which is something that I love. And just this morality of we're making people like it's just really good. And then Centuria has this potentially self-fulfilling prophecy that has me really hooked. And then you have right now this manga Hero Organization, which has this sort of potential morality of, not everything that you see is real, and they might just be using that to bait you into feeling, a sense of proudness and enlisting in this organization to fight against alien races, which it's just fake. They're just using these stories, fabricating these stories so you can be inspired to like join. It's really fucked up, but I like where this first chapter went. Anyway, the first and second chapter went. So anyway, give me your opinions about this new manga. What do you guys think about it? And I'll see you next time. So bye-bye.